Okay, so today we're talking all about one of my favorite topics, which has to do with generating revenue inside of your Facebook group. And today we're going to talk about the best way to do it. So the first thing that I want to talk about is how to create a Facebook group environment where your members actually want to be sold to. Okay? I know that a lot of us, a lot of you watching may have some fears about selling, some trepidation. It feels a little bit awkward. And so what I want for you is to grow a Facebook group where people actually want you to open the doors to your products and to your programs. They want you to get started doing it. So before we start talking about that, I want you guys to think about Dirty Dancing, the movie, not actual Dirty Dancing, the movie Dirty Dancing and not like the remake, not the Havana Nights one. We're not going to discuss that because that is a big mess. But I want you to think about the original with, starring Patrick Swayze. And if I tell you guys to think of, the best kissing scene inside of Dirty Dancing, you guys can probably picture it in your head right away. So if you have seen Dirty Dancing, please type yes into the comments. If you have not seen it, please drop everything, turn this off, and go watch it immediately because it's a great movie. So what I want you guys to think about is so a lot of people when they think of Dirty Dancing, they think of that one kissing scene where it's like, it's that song Loverboy and they're like on all fours, walking towards each other before they kiss or whatever. A lot of people think about that, okay? But that's actually not my favorite kissing scene in the movie. So my favorite kissing scene in that movie is, it's their very first kiss. And I don't know if you guys remember this part, but it's when, Jennifer Grey had to go, Baby, as she's known. Baby had to go get her dad to help because Penny was having trouble. She was having like medical issues, and so her dad had to go intervene because he's a doctor. And then she goes to see Patrick Swayze the next day. And so he's all alone in his messy apartment. And she walks in, and they've never had like any kind of a kiss or anything like that before. And up until then, she's always been like, "Wow, you're so amazing, Patrick Swayze," or whatever. And then he's just been like he just kind of like disregards her. Like he doesn't really pay attention to her. He's like, just like another lame customer of this hotel or whatever, right? Okay. So anyway, so she goes to his, not his hotel, his little like cabin, his little dance cabin. And like he opens the door and then she goes in and he's like kind of embarrassed because it's a mess. So he's like putting clothes away. And you can see like the minute she walks in and sees him, she just wants to like go to town. Like you can just tell, right? Like she's excited to be there. And he's just like, like whatever, like everything is horrible in my life. And he goes into this little speech about like how, like all of his problems and his struggles, and he never feels good enough and blah, blah, blah. She's like, "Oh my God, no, you're amazing." And then the whole, like all the pre-kiss stuff starts to happen, right? Like you start to hear like music. There's a little bit of music then playing. The camera kind of zooms in. Like they have like a conversation and they get a little bit closer, but they still don't kiss yet. And like as an audience member, when you're watching it, Steven is laughing at me, but when you're watching it, you're like, "Oh my God, like make it happen. Like kiss already, like kiss. You're just like, come on. Right? Or is that just me? Like, if that's you too, please type in yes, because unless I'm just like a weirdo. But I don't think it's just me. So we're all like kind of cheering them on, like, come on. And then finally when it happens, it's like, oh, it's like so satisfying. We can all rest easy because we know that they had their kiss and that now they're going to dance off into the sunset or, practice more of those like crazy water leap things or whatever it is, right? But the reason why I'm talking about this today is because there are a lot of elements to that dirty dancing kissing scene that we can use inside of our own Facebook groups, right? When we're talking about generating revenue inside of our Facebook group, the best way to do that is to first build tons of anticipation before we actually launch our product. Okay? So, when we think about that kissing scene and dirty dancing, there's anticipation is building. There's a lot of like seduction going on, right? There's the audience, like we're like riveted in our seats, like watching, what is happening. And that's what the content inside of your Facebook group should be doing well before you even open the doors to your program, like well before, right? And I want you to think, keep that dirty dancing, kissing scene in your head. And I want to contrast that to another scene. This one is from Snoopy. Like, if you guys remember Charlie Brown and Snoopy, and I don't know if you remember this, and I don't remember if it was Lucy or if it was like one of Charlie Brown's other friends, but they had a little booth and it was like kissing, like 1 kiss equals 5 cents or something. So type yes in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. It's like she's in a little booth. It's just like a little bench and then there's a sign above, or maybe the sign is below and it says like 1 hug equals 5 cents. Or 1 kiss equals 10 cents or something like that, right? It's one of those. I can't remember exactly which one it is. But there's no anticipation. There's no seduction. There's no story. It's just like boring. But a lot of people are selling their products and services like Charlie Brown. They're in their Facebook groups, the little sign that says, one program, $9.97 or whatever, right? And they're completely cutting out all of that like hot, sexy anticipation, story building, urgency. They're cutting out all of that. And then they're left scratching their heads as to why nobody's buying. Okay? So I don't want this to happen to you guys. And one of the best ways that I have found that really help to drive urgency, to build excitement, to create that anticipation is through launching. Now, I know that a lot of you guys don't like to launch, right? Right now, in one word, tell me what comes up for you. If I say, go launch this, like go launch something tomorrow, what do you feel? Like in one word, a feeling. Like maybe your feeling is like excited, or maybe it's horrified, or whatever it is. In one word, I want you to tell me the feeling that you get inside when you think about launching, right? That first feeling. Okay, someone says terrified. Someone they say ugh, right? That's another good one. So a lot of us have these exhaustion, fear of people not buying, disaster. Oh my God. Steve says vomit. Yes. Okay. Now, I totally get that. And I used to feel the exact same way about launching. And one of the reasons why I think as entrepreneurs, we have these horrible, terrible associations with launching is when we think about launching, we kind of see them as this, this do or die situation, right? This all or nothing thing. And we put so much pressure on ourselves, and we tell ourselves like, everything is riding on this launch. Like, if this launch doesn't work out, I'm finished, right? And some of us have even built our business models are built in a way that that may actually be the case, right? Like maybe you have a business model where if this launch fails, like your business fails. Now, I don't want that to happen to you. Launching is the best way to build anticipation, build excitement, get people begging you, emailing you, messaging you, begging you every single day for you to open the doors to your program. But there's a different way in order for you to get over those like horrible feelings about launching. You've got to shift your mindset. Now, I shared, for those of you that are on my email list, I send an email every single day. And last week, I talked about a big failed launch I had. And I'm not going to rehash the details because I already went through it in my last email. But basically, I was suffering from this thing where I had put so much pressure on myself for this one, launch to happen. And if it didn't work out, then I was finished. And guess what? It didn't work out. I broke even. There was no profit made, right? But the good part of that is that it really helped me shift my mindset, and it helped me understand that launching is not the end all be all. It's just the beginning. And that's what I want. If you walk away with anything today, I really want for you to take that in. Launching is just the beginning. Because what happens when you launch that product is that after you have that launch, whether it's a big success or whether it's a complete flop, you're going to be able to take what you learned from that launch, refine it, launch it again. You can launch it 30 days later. You can launch it 60 days later. You can launch it 90 days later. However much time you need in order to refine it. You can take it to JV partners. You can take it to cold audiences. Like, you can take that one launch and continue to refine it multiple times. So it doesn't have to be this big all or nothing thing. Like, I see so many people, they go out, they launch their product, it doesn't meet their goals, and instead of refining their existing launch, they go out and they create a brand new program or a brand new product, and they're starting from scratch all over again. When in fact, it would be a lot more profitable, and it would be a lot easier if they just revisited their first launch and just made a few tweaks, right? A few tweaks, a few revisions, optimize it a bit more, and then relaunch it again. So, a lot of people, when I sent that, I talked more about that in detail in that email that I told you about last week. But when I sent out that email, like, the response was huge. That email had the biggest response out of any emails that we've sent in the last month or so. In the last month, I would say that was the most popular email. And so I knew right then and there that it struck a nerve and that a lot of people could relate to my story of having this failed launch and just being like, well, what do I do now? Do I need to start from scratch? Right? And the answer is no, you don't have to start from scratch. So if you kind of shift your mindset into, like, going into launch is a time where it's kind of like you're just getting it out there, right? It's just the beginning. You're getting it out there. You're seeing what works. You're seeing what doesn't. And then you get to try again. And you get to try again and again and again. And over time, it's going to be optimized to be more profitable. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about is the number one mistake that people make when they launch. And this also relates to my dirty dancing story, because the number one mistake that people make when they launch is they do not create the right type of preview content or any preview content, right? Not to mention just the right kind of content. They don't create any preview content. It's like all of a sudden, and I know, like, I'm sure you've seen this happen before. I've actually done this myself. Like, this is how I learned not to do this ever, was I've done this myself where all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I'm going to launch. And then it's like nobody's warmed up, right? Nobody knows what's coming. Nobody knows why they should care about that particular topic. And you just go in like full on. All of a sudden you're like, hey, tomorrow I'm launching. So everybody get excited. And everyone's like, what? Like, we don't care. Why are we here? Like, we don't care about this. What's going on? Right? And so the kind of preview content that I'm talking about that you need to be sharing inside of your Facebook groups is the kind of content that is really going to stir desire, to illuminate pain points, and to shed light on knowledge gaps. That's the kind of content that is going to build excitement inside of your group ahead of time, right? Because a lot of people put a lot of pressure, the most pressure on themselves, like when the cart opens. But that should be the easy part. Like once the cart is open to your launch, that's the part where you just sit back and you watch the sales come in, right? And you look at your email and like it's like ding, 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 ding. That's what you want. That's the part where you can relax. But the part that people forget about entirely is all of the preview content, all of that building anticipation, stirring desire, right? All of the seduction, all of that needs to happen before you ever open the doors to your launch. And before you even announce your launch. All that needs to be happening inside of your group. Now, if you don't do this, your launch is going to be a big disaster, right? It's going to be a big disaster, just like mine was, the one that I told you guys about last year. It was a big disaster. Nobody knew it was coming. I didn't really talk about it because it was a new product, and I was actually kind of nervous that I was known for one thing and I was sort of transitioning to being known for something else. And so I was like, I had a lot of trepidation. I had a lot of nerves about it. I wasn't sure if anyone was going to like it, like all of these things. And it just really made me hold back. And so when I did open the doors to launch, people were like, oh, like this is like, what's going on here, right? I spent zero time doing any kind of preview content. Now, another thing that I want to talk about when it comes to launching, we talked about the importance of building up that preview content before you launch. But the other thing that I want to talk about is what you need to do in order to effectively scale your launch. And so many people mess this up. And what you need to do when you're launching is you need to play the long game. You need to stop thinking of a launch as this big, smash and grab opportunity to get as many sales as you can, and then, go into hibernation mode and then do the whole thing again 6 months later. Like, that's not going to work. So here's what I mean by that, that rookie, beginner, smash and grab launch style. And I want you to tell me if this sounds familiar. And if it does, don't feel bad, because I used to do the exact same thing. So here's what those like rookie mistakes look like. Number one, you're sending out sales emails to your entire list, right? So you're feeling pretty good. You're like, hey, like I got this product. Okay, now it's time to launch. I'm going to send out some sales emails, with a link to the sales page so that they can buy. And I'm going to send them out to every single person on my email list. I want you to type yes in the comments if you've ever done that. And don't be shy. I totally used to do this. Okay? Now, the thing, we're going to get into why that's not the best way to do things. But here's the other thing. The other thing that I want you to do is I want you to ask yourself, because this is another one of those like rookie mistakes. Here's another one of those rookie mistakes, is that you're sending out sales emails to your whole list, and you're also sending out a webinar replay to everyone who didn't attend. If you've done that, type yes. If you have ever sent out a replay. You think you're doing the right thing. You're like, okay, I know that a lot, like, I think I'm doing the right thing. Like, I did my webinar. I know that a lot of sales happen in the follow-up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send everyone who didn't attend, I'm going to send them this replay so that they can watch the replay. Then I'm going to send everyone who didn't attend. In addition to the replay, I'm also going to send everyone who didn't attend all of my sales follow-up emails. Okay? A lot of people do this. This is also, as my daughter says, whenever something wrong happens, she goes, she's 5. But anyway, so that's a big this, okay? So you don't want to send emails to every single person on your list. You do not want to send a webinar replay to every single person on your list. And the other thing that you don't want to do is you do not, under any circumstances, want to start posting your sales page all over social media and your website. And I see a lot of people do this. If you've done this, type yes into the comments. If your cart is open and you're like, I'm going to maximize sales, and the best way for me to do that is to share a direct link to my sales page on my website. I'm going to have a pop-up bar and it's going to say, click here to buy now, enrollment's open. I'm going to share that sales page link on Twitter. I'm going to share it on Instagram. Swipe up to buy this now. I'm going to share it in my Facebook group. I'm going to share it all over the place. Okay? No, don't do this. This is not the way to do it. Now, these are all like I said before, like typical, like beginner mistakes. I've made the same mistakes. The reason that all of those things are mistakes is that if you do that stuff, you cannot measure the effectiveness of your launch, right? You can't do it. And let me get into why. If you're doing that smash and grab, like, I'm just going to make as much money as I can, then sure, go ahead, like do that. And good luck, by the way, launching next time, because you're going to have no clue as to what was working and what was not working. You're going to have no clue on what you need to optimize and tweak and refine for next time so that your launch can improve. That's what's going to happen. And that's why a lot of people out there are launching, and on their second launch, on their third launch, on their fourth launch, they're making the exact same money. Nothing's increasing. Nothing's changing. Sometimes they even make less money on those follow-up launches, right? And the reason why this is happening is because you did this like spray and pray method of, launching where you're just sharing stuff all over the place and you can't measure what's working. So if you want each launch to be bigger and bigger and bigger, and then maybe to eventually, turn it into an evergreen offer where you can automate your launch and have it always available, then you need to do a closed launch. Okay, you need to stop sending emails to your entire list. You need to stop sharing your sales page all over the place. You need to stop sending replay and sales emails to people who did not attend the live webinar. Now, what you're going to do is get strategic. So let me tell you an example. When I talk about measuring the effectiveness of your launch, let's pretend that you have 100 people on your email list. Okay? So you have 100 people on your email list, and this is like, it's your email list is like brand new. Like you're starting from scratch. You've got 100 people on it, and you launch your product, right? So you launch your product, and let's say that 2 people purchase. So you're like, okay, that was a 2% conversion rate. Okay, so you go to your little, like notebook or whatever it is. Maybe I always use an Excel spreadsheet, to track how it went. So you write down 100 people were on my list and 2 people bought. That's a 2% conversion. So you're feeling pretty good, right? So the next time you go to launch, then let's say you add 100 more people to your list. So this time you have 200 people on your email list, right? And so you go to launch and 2 people buy. Now, if you're not running a closed launch, if you're sending out those emails to every single person on your list, you're going to look at those results and you're going to say, wait a minute. The first time I launched, I sold 2 things out of a list of 100. And that my next launch, I sold 2 things out of a list of 200. That means that my conversion rate dropped. It went from 2% to 1%. Like something's wrong. No, I guess nobody wants this product anymore. So I'm going to go back to square one. I'm going to create something new. I'm going to freak out. I'm going to cry. I don't know what you're going to do. But whatever the case may be, however it is that you choose to freak out, whatever that looks like, and then the next time you add 100, maybe you add 100 more people and then 2 more people buy. Do you see what I'm saying? Does this make sense to you? Where you're not able to, you don't know what's going on, right? And so then your conversion rates go down, 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 down to the point where you have you have 10,000 people on your list. You're sending every single person on your list all your sales emails. And you're like, man, I really blow at this because my conversion rate is 0.00432%. This seems really horrible, right? And then we get discouraged and all of that. So you don't want to do that, right? You need to make sure that everything is closed, that you're segmenting your list, that you're not sending emails to every single person. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about is, okay, you know what? I don't even know. I don't even know what I was going to talk about because I ran out of time before this broadcast and I was going to write one more thing. And now I forgot what it was. And I thought I wrote it down and I didn't. So let's open it up to questions. I'm going to take questions for a couple minutes. So if you have any questions, please make sure that you ask away. There's a few people watching on Instagram. They're probably like, what? You've never been live before. And it's true, I haven't. So if you have any questions about this, let's hear it. I'm going to scroll down for a minute. So Julie says, I'm so new at this. Why wouldn't you do that? So Julie, I hope that my explanation kind of explained why. The reason why you don't want to send sales emails to everyone, the reason why you don't want to promote your sales page when you launch all over the place is because you have no way to effectively measure what exactly is working and what's not, right? Because then the next time, it works okay. You will make money for that one launch, right? You'll make some money from that launch, but your stats are not, they're not worth anything, right? Because you've just you have no idea what was bringing in those sales. You don't know if someone bought because they saw a random link to your sales page that you posted on Twitter. You don't know if it was a result of a specific email that you sent. You don't know if it was a result of, the webinar. You have no idea. And if you don't know why people are buying your products, and if you don't know what conversion methods are working, then you cannot improve upon them for the next launch. And I want for all of us to be thinking of what the next launch is going to look like, right? And that's the part that a lot of people forget about because they don't have this growth mindset where it's going to be launch and then a next launch and then a next launch and a next launch. They're just I'm going to launch it once and then it's going to be out there and then anybody can buy it anytime and then I'm done and then the money will happen. All of this stuff, right? No, that's not the way it happens because we want to make sure that we're running our business like Jennifer Grey, right? We want to be like Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze. We want to make sure that we're building anticipation, that we're seducing our audience before we even open the cart to our paid products and programs. We do not want to be like Charlie Brown out there with his little hut of 1 kiss equals 5 cents or whatever. We don't want that. We don't want that because it doesn't work. Okay. So here's a really good question. Steph says, how much free content do you give away before the launch? So Steph, I'm so glad you asked that question because most people get this wrong. Now, you can give out as much free content as you want if it's the right kind of content. If it's content that stirs desire, that sheds light on knowledge gaps, that illuminates pain, if it's any of those kinds of content, like go to town. You can share that kind of content as much as you want. Okay? However, what I see a lot of people doing, and I talked about this in the last video that I did, is a lot of people are sharing the wrong kind of content. They're sharing all of this tips and tricks content. They're telling their audience what to do, so there is literally no point, no reason for the audience to actually buy from them because they've just explained exactly what to do, right? That's not going to work. That does not work. And so you can give as much value, as much content as you're able to, but it needs to be the right kind of content, right? The kinds that I just described. So that's the difference. So give me a yes if that helps you. Sorry, I just lost my place again. Steph. So Steph, give me a yes if that kind of helps you. Regarding her original question was, how much free content do you give away during the launch? You can give as much away as you want. Just make sure it's the right kind. The kind that stirs desire. Not the kind that tells people exactly what to do so that when you open the doors to enrollment, they're going to be like, oh, why should I buy this? I think, you know what's the worst comment to get? Okay, here is the worst comment ever. And I know that you guys have received this comment before because it's really common. So tell me if you've ever heard this before. You're like, yes, I'm going to do this pre-launch content thing. I'm going to share the right kind of stuff in my Facebook group, blah, blah, blah. Maybe even you host a challenge or something like that. And then you open the doors to enrollment and nobody buys. And then you're like, wait a minute, I just gave all this free value. Like, why aren't you buying? And they tell you, they're like, I think I'm going to go and try this on my own first. Right? If somebody walks away at the end of your challenge or at the end of any of your free content with the idea in their head that they're like, hey, I got this. I'm going to go, I don't need to buy anything from you because now I can walk away and I've got a clear plan of action, right? Now, we all know, since we're all experts in our various industries, we all know that you don't know what you don't know. And a lot of those people will go out, they'll try it on their own, they'll fail miserably because they don't have your specific expertise. They'll realize they don't know what they don't know. And then they'll come back maybe during the next launch, and maybe then they'll enroll in your product or program or something like that. But I don't want that to happen for you. Okay? So I hope that answers your question, Steph. Let's see if she wrote yes. Okay. Yes. So, okay. Yes. Stephanie Wild, you are very smart. That's it. Diagnose and do not cure. Diagnose, do not cure. I love that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to be having a little follow-up discussion on this inside of my Facebook group. It's called Social Boss. If you're not in there, CaitlinBacher.com/Social Boss. I think there's a link to it in the title of this broadcast. But we're going to continue the discussion in there. So if you're not in there yet, make sure that you get in there. And thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me today. All right. Bye, guys.